Let's get a few things running here, and then we're going to get started. Thank you so much to everybody who is joining me here on this Thursday, April 25th, 2024. We are finally to the severe weather outbreak that is going to last us multiple days, unfortunately. Hopefully everybody has gotten prepared. Hopefully we've gotten the advance warning out right here at One Nation Weather, but we're going to continue to kind of discuss what's going to go on tonight with our threat right here that you're looking at on screen Thursday evening, stretching all the way from parts of the high plains back down here through parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. Then as we head into the day tomorrow, here's what our enhanced risk is going to look like as we head into the day 2 time frame for our Friday, April 26th, 2024. You can see it moving on up there, Nebraska, Iowa, parts of Missouri. That's our risk for Friday. We're going to give you the overview on tonight. Tomorrow, moving towards Saturday as well. I think we could have significant severe weather, maybe a moderate risk from the Storm Prediction Center somewhere in here. Significant tornado potential, not out of the question down here. So there's a lot to track in terms of the future weather pattern here. And you can clearly see that even as we head towards the Sunday time frame, look at what the Storm Prediction Center is outlining. Sunday, April 28th, 2024. Still more severe weather to contend with, and it's going to be here in a lot of the same areas that are going to be impacted daily. So we're going to break all of that down in the stream, give everybody and open the floor for questions. So I appreciate everybody who's already on here with me at this point. And I appreciate, let's see, we've got just a weather guy in the chat. We've got Severe Storm Filmer, Jacob Lewis, and Severe Storm Filmer. I will actually tell you that right now I don't agree with the potential for Saturday to be a bust. I really think Saturday is going to be a severe weather event at this point over parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, moving on up into parts of Missouri. It might not be as extreme as some people might say it will, but I do think it deserves some pretty significant attention by the time we head towards that time frame. But if I can get just a thumbs up down in the chat, let me know that you can hear me at this point. That would be great as we're just kind of getting into the stream, getting everything started. Let me know if the video quality is good. You can see everything okay. Everything's moving all right on the screen as I've been doing it so far. For some reason, I've got a notification that the audio stream's current bit rate is lower than recommended, whatever's going on with that. So make sure everything just sounds like normal. If you can, give me a thumbs up if everything's good in the chat. And I will get to your question, Jacob Lewis. Thank you so much for the question already. Yeah, follow in his footsteps and put those zip codes in the chat if you've got any questions for your local area. Now, let's move on over here. I want to show you what's going on right now on satellite imagery. There we go, right here. Yeah, let's turn off that image for a second. And here we go. Here's our current satellite. And this is recent satellite anyway, not the most current satellite. Let's play it out to where we can get to that most recent. Here we go. As of 4:53 p.m. Time frame here in the East Coast, 3:53 Central Time on our Thursday, April 25th, 2024 in the evening. Look what we've got right here. Thanks to everybody who's telling me it sounds good. Perfect. Over here in parts of northwestern Kansas, we've got a little boundary of some storms moving to the north. We're going to get a few more of these pushing to the north as we head throughout the rest of this evening, and they will have a supercell threat and a brief strong tornado threat associated with them. The Storm Prediction Center yesterday basically had an outline that went like this for the highest tornado threat. It was realized this morning by them and by other sources as well that this area and then this area are going to be the two focal points for severe weather as we head through the rest of our Thursday, April 25th, into the evening, into the nighttime. This area for tornadoes right here, and really all the threats, tornadoes, winds, and hail. This threat down here being more for hail, wind, not necessarily quite as much in terms of tornado threat down here, but still an isolated risk really all along this initiation corridor where the storms are going to develop. That's where we're going to have the best chance for some tornadoes. So we'll kind of break that down here. In fact, let's switch back on over to our future radar playthrough. Let's make that the first part of our forecast, then we'll open the floor for discussion and questions regarding the next several days of severe weather, not just tonight. Here's what we've got looking at the Storm Prediction Center's outlook. You can see where we've got the enhanced risk the rest of this evening. One thing that's going to kind of make these storms interesting, they're going to be a little more elevated. We've got the low-level jet not quite kicking up to its fullest potential yet. That means that we don't have quite as much spin in the atmosphere necessarily. But we've already gotten some severe thunderstorm warnings trying to pop up out of these storms. We'll see if we could get an isolated tornado over the next few hours. But we've certainly already got a tornado watch up for these storms in northwest Kansas, southwest parts of Nebraska as we head with time here through this evening here on our Thursday, April 25th. Now, notice a lot of this development along a warm front, some of it elevated. We'll try to get more surface-based, especially with time tonight. Notice what we've got. It looks like we could have some of these localized supercells. You could see them kind of just briefly running on up and kind of joining the clusterings where we'll probably have some big hail. I can guarantee you we're going to be getting a lot of big hail in this area tonight. Whether we get tornado threat, that's still to be determined. I think a lot of the storms are going to be more elevated even as we head towards 10, 11 o'clock this evening. Still some localized tornado potential, and it could briefly be an EF2 caliber tornado, especially from Garden City, Kansas, but I think in the northern part of this zone at this point. Through Scott City to Oakley and Colby, Goodland, a lot of the storms are going to be kind of making its way on up into this area. So this will be some of the zones that we have to closely watch for severe weather potential. Southwest Kansas, southwest Nebraska, northwestern parts of Kansas. That's where we're going to have to closely watch the rest of this evening. Where we get new development down here in Oklahoma and Texas tonight, that's what's going to be later in the evening. Look at this. This is as we head through Vernon, Wichita Falls, Altus, Lawton, Chickasaw. So that's moving out of Texas and into Oklahoma 3, 4 a.m. tonight. These are going to be the spots we're watching for severe weather, especially gusty winds, hail, maybe a brief spin-up tornado. And notice pretty much the entirety of our risk zone is going to fill on up with convective activity by the time we head towards 5, 6, 7 a.m. heading into April 26th, which is our Friday morning here. Notice a lot of that moving towards the very edge of the risk zone, but still some gusty winds and hail pushing through some of those zones. I appreciate everybody who's with me right now, even though it's just a small number for now. Hopefully that will pick up. You can always share it with family and friends if you want to get more people involved on the stream as well. We'll get back into some more questions here momentarily. But that's just day one of severe weather, and I don't know who's still with me, but if you know my ONW severe weather scale, here's what it looks like. It goes from 0 to 7, 1 being a low certainty on the severe weather scale. Once you start to get into the 1, you've got a potential for a few severe storms possible in a very isolated fashion. 2 is more isolated to scattered, likely wind to hail-driven severe weather. 3 is an increased risk for severe storms with all hazards being possible. Level 4 of 7 on the ONW severe scale means scattered severe storms are expected with hatch risk likely, meaning significant severe weather is going to be likely in a good deal of zones. Increased risk for significant storms. 5 is when you're getting into the signal for dangerous severe storms and outbreak potential. 6 and 7, that's when you're starting to get into that severe weather outbreak criteria. So let's go back on over and take a look at what my actual scale is showing for tonight. This is your Thursday, April 25th, 2024 into the night. This goes all the way through Friday, April 26th at like 6, 7 a.m. I've got a 3 of 7 tentatively on the scale right now, okay? So if you live from southern Nebraska down to parts of north central Texas, I want you to be on high alert as we head through April 25th into the night as well. But if you live in southwestern Nebraska, northwestern Kansas, they're in parts of north central Texas moving into southwestern Oklahoma. In those areas, I think that's where I especially want people to be prepared, because I almost put a level 4 of 7 down. Either way, supercells will turn into mixed convective modes this evening and tonight over parts of the Central Plains. The storms in Kansas and Nebraska will be earlier on. We'll see what storms we get in Texas and Oklahoma. There's a big capping inversion, meaning that we've got a lot of kind of a shallow warm layer in the atmosphere, just kind of slowing everything down, causing disruption at this point to storms and their normal push on up into the atmosphere. But anyway, we'll be watching storms later this evening and into the overnight hours from parts of Texas moving into south central Oklahoma. Here's a preview of what we've got as we go into Friday, and this will lead us into the discussion for what we're looking at on Friday. Here's what I've got: April 26, 2024, brought out the 4 of 7. I've actually trimmed it away because I had originally moved it from North Texas all the way curling around into some of these zones I've got right now. I think the focal point for severe weather Friday at this point, other than a broad zone through parts of the Midwest back down into parts of Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, I think the biggest threat for severe storms is going to be in that zone I've highlighted in orange. Morning storms and additional afternoon storms posing Friday's threat. Highest tornado threat will be in Nebraska and Iowa, where initial supercells could converge into a little bit more of a quick moving line with all severe weather hazards later in the day. That's something I'm certainly going to be tracking. These storms are probably going to be right around that Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Iowa border region there, that general vicinity, moving to the northeast with time Friday evening. And there will be an associated tornado threat Some gusty winds, some hail not out of the question as well, of course, as those storms move on through. Saturday, by the time we head towards Saturday, look at this. I think I'm really concerned about Saturday, and we've got a 5 of 7 on the scale for parts of North Texas, heading on to southwestern Missouri. And remember what a 5 of 7 means. It means there's a signal for dangerous severe storms and an outbreak potential. I really want people to be very weather aware by the time we head towards our Saturday, all right? So let's just go ahead and get into some of the question answering here. We've already got some questions a little bit early on here in the stream, even though we don't have many people watching. I appreciate those of you who are tuning in right now and have questions. So let's go to the top and see what my first question was. What do we expect for Southwest Oklahoma? 73554. Certainly, I can take a look at that for you. And in fact, let me pull that up on my own end. In fact, if you're putting your zip code in the chat, then I might as well. I can pull it up on screen, because we've already made it public. Anyway, here we go, 73554. And let's do this. In the Mangum, Oklahoma area. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Here's what we've got tonight. You are in the enhanced risk for severe weather. You're kind of in the edge of my 3, potentially what I almost put as a level 4 of 7 on the ONW severe scale tonight in that zone, Jacob Lewis. You're really on the edge of the Storm Prediction Center's level 2 of 5, slight risk here, and the level 3 of 5, enhanced risk. Either way, significant severe weather not being out of the question. It's looking like the storms that you're going to get tonight are going to move through probably sometime right after midnight, heading into the overnight hours. So probably the 2, or we'll say 1:30 to say 5:30 a.m. Central Time is going to be the overall vicinity you're watching. This model in particular saying that around 2-3 a.m. is going to be your closest time to be watching the storms in Central Time, moving on through Seymour, Vernon, Altus, and your area there in the Mangum zone as well. You can see it's looking like the potential for gusty winds and hail will be accompanying these storms. And in fact, just kind of moving those storms out of the picture just so I can kind of show you the outlook in terms of tornadoes, wind, and hail. Notice you're in the 5% zone for the chance of tornadoes within 25 miles of a point in that area. I think the biggest threat that you're going to be dealing with is going to be not only the wind, as you can see on your screen, gusty winds, gusty damaging winds being a severe weather threat tonight. I think what we're also going to have to watch there is going to be the excessively large hail. We could see some 2 to 3 inch hailstones move into this area. So certainly a pretty intense night for severe weather across the Central Plains, and you are included in that overall zone, Jacob Lewis, something that you certainly need to keep track on tonight. And that's kind of what we're watching then. And then you're going to be mostly west of the worst risks as we head beyond tonight. But there will be some more concerns later this week. Everything sounds great. Already read that. Radar blips in Kansas, that's not good. Severe storm filmer watching Saturday, to be honest. Yeah, I think Saturday is something really to be keeping a very close eye on. Not seeing anything beyond the Ohio Valley. Tim Cooney wants to know. I can apologize if I mispronounced that. Yeah, beyond the Ohio Valley, I think things are really going to die out. If you live here, maybe in the southeast we could get a little bit. I don't really think things are going to make their way to the northeastern United States, but if I'm being quite honest with you, I haven't been all over checking that either quite as much as I've been kind of making the scales for the nearer term stuff, if you want to call it that, going on. Let's play out future radar and kind of see what's on the way. Yeah, it's looking like everything's going to be dying out after the Ohio Valley at this point. If we get any severe storms, it might be Tuesday into Wednesday next week, with lingering convection here closer to the East Coast. That would not be too bad. Yeah, that probably would not be too bad. What's the woe about severe storm filmer? Did I miss something? I might have missed something. Let me know. Yeah. I don't think this one's going to be a bust, severe storm filmer, though. Oh, new tornado warning in Nebraska. Glad you got me onto that. Let's take a look right now at what we've got going on while we're on the stream. Can't hurt to take a look. Then we'll move on to the other questions, because this is meant to be a little bit more of a forecasting stream. Doesn't surprise me there's one, though. Let's see, alerts. Let's go to tornado warning. Turn that on. See what's going on right now. Oh yeah, it's kind of moving on out there of south, moving out of Wyoming and into Nebraska there. That's a gnarly looking supercell, man. Let's see what's going on with that one. Certainly some big hail. No way the hail's hazard tornado. Numerous reports of landspout tornadoes in funnels. No way I got your name right, Tim. That's crazy. Anyway, numerous reports of landspouts and funnels, man. We've got a big storm going on here, moving out of Wyoming and into parts of Nebraska this evening. And yeah, I mean, the rotation on that storm, I don't normally do like discussions on rotation. If I had to say anything, we've got some very broad rotation, but it is there. I mean, if we're looking for exactly where this would be, it's moving, I guess, right there on the state line into Lyman, Nebraska, kind of right here. And my pen is being very slow today, but there it is. Lyman, Nebraska, you're kind of right on that edge of that circulation, so we've got that spin kind of swirling around right there. And there's some broad rotation, you know, if we were seeing really bright greens right in here and really bright reds to the south and east, then I would be more concerned. Certainly, though, not moving through extremely populated areas, but we do have a tornado warning to kick off this evening in an unexpected area for sure. So I'm glad you pointed me out on that, Severe Storm Filmer, and we'll certainly have to keep tabs on what's going on in that area with time. That is in the slight risk for today, though. Storm Prediction Center upgraded that. I guess that was a really smart move. Though the tornado risk isn't really that far north. They might have to extend that a little bit further up. Hit that like button if you're just now joining me. Share this out as well if possible. Alright, let's get back into those questions that were there. Yeah, bimodal on Friday. Certainly agree, Caden Ruzica. Any significant severe storms were a hatched area in Madison, Wisconsin Saturday. Let's talk about that. Right now, I know the hatched area doesn't push up that far north. I believe it dies in Iowa for Saturday. Let's take a look at that. And we'll leave the existing warnings just on for now. Yep. Okay. Let's pull this up on my own end. Here we go. Now we can look at that. And yeah, I wasn't even looking at the... I wasn't even showing y'all that storm just a second ago, because I clicked the wrong button. That's my bad. Here we go. Now we're looking at it. Radar Omega. But anyway, there's a little bit of rotation on that storm in western Nebraska right now. Some landspout tornadoes being reported on that. We'll keep a very close eye on that as that moves out of Wyoming into Nebraska this evening. But just a weather guy there. Yeah, I think Madison could be included in the hatch risk. I really think storms are going to kind of be ending as they head towards your direction. But you certainly could get into some. I just don't think it's going to be at its most intense point by the time we get to Madison, Wisconsin. I think let's look at where the hatch risk is right now for that time frame. Come on now. Let's pull up the probabilistic outlook. Sometimes Omega does this to me. There we go. But anyway, I believe the hatch risk kind of dies out in here somewhere. So Madison, you could end up in a hatch risk, but right now I don't see that happening Saturday. I see the big risk on Saturday, and where we'll probably end up getting some sort of moderate from the Storm Prediction Center being like right up in here. Oh, there we go. There's the probabilistic for, yeah, hail threat. The big hail threat ends near Des Moines right now. If it extends more, it'll probably go like this. If you can get on that northern end some storms that kind of move from the northeast to the southeast, from the northwest to the southeast, we'll see what could happen there in Wisconsin out of that. That would be what I would be interested in. Any other questions that we have? Oh, because of my rare 5 of 7 outlook, yeah. I haven't really ever put that out, Severe Storm Filmer. You're correct on that. All right, what other questions do we have, everyone? I'm here to let's just talk about existing severe weather that's going on this evening. While I wait on questions, put those zip codes in the chat though. Now that we've got this actually on screen too, I can go back and talk about what's going on there in parts of western Nebraska, parts of southeastern Wyoming. And yeah, if I'm being honest with you, I mean, a lot of what I do here on the channel is meant because my schedule doesn't allow for me to do like a live severe weather coverage all the time. So a lot of what I do here on the channel is just kind of that advanced warning, and I've done that for the last several days now. Yeah, Wednesday in the Ohio Valley. Yeah, let me answer that. I apologize for not getting to that one. Let's talk about that. I think Wednesday in the Ohio Valley looks interesting later in the day, and I can show you what makes the pattern interesting there. And let's turn this feature on here so that you can see that. Okay, now we're talking. Here's what makes Wednesday at least somewhat interesting there. Upper air, wind, 500 millibar. And yeah, I mean, it's looking like the jet stream's going to have the little jet streaks kind of running along it up there in the Great Lakes if it's anywhere. So on that kind of southern flank, you could get some severe storms in the Ohio Valley along these little jet waves, jet streaks, whatever you want to call them, moving their way on up there through the north central United States. Looking like, if not Wednesday, maybe Thursday or Friday. So I think late next week, you're going to have to closely watch Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in Ohio. Each day could end up posing a severe weather threat depending on the timing of everything. All right, let's go back over and talk about what's going on right now. Go back on over to this. Okay. You can see everything all right. That's good. Okay. Now, it's not going to show the active time, but as I'm doing this, this is as of literally the latest update at 5:20 Eastern, 4:20 Central Time, and on this Thursday evening. Yeah, I mean, we could have a tornado on the ground right in this vicinity. It's probably not going to be picking up much debris if there is, but if there is, it would be right there. Correlation coefficient. Is that some debris near Lyman? Could be. That could be some debris right there near Lyman, Ohio. Not Lyman, Ohio. Lyman, Nebraska. Let's take a look at the velocity on that again. Yeah, I mean, the tornado should be like right there if there is one. I don't know if that lines up correctly. That's certainly a really interesting setup, though. Glad you're prepared for the severe weather, just in case it happens. Severe storm filmer, always better to be prepared than not. In Ohio, let's see what else is going on. We might not just have a tornado warning right now. Let's see what other alerts we have. And again, this is on a live stream on our Thursday evening for anyone tuning in later. Yeah, we've got a couple severe storm warnings down here near Goodland, Kansas. Let's see what's going on there. We've got some areas of broad rotation here between St. Francis and Bird City there in northwestern Kansas, but that's not anything to panic about. If we look at the reflectivity on these storms, or this, yeah, it's like a multi-cell thunderstorm, a lot of different cells in this. Looking like some big hail, especially right there. This is too messy to really produce a huge tornado threat for now. But we're definitely trying to get some rotation in these cells right along this boundary, and you can see a little bit of broad rotation in the storm over here, just north, several miles north of Colby. Otherwise, here from Bird City to St. Francis, you've got a little broad rotation as well in terms of the velocities here. But yeah, it's really looking like we're just getting some big hail out of these storms. Something expected along a warm front. Saturday's got your attention big time. Yeah, Saturday looks like a big time event down over the South Central Plains. I'd be talking a lot more if there were a lot more people to interact with on the stream. It's just kind of a slower one this evening, I guess, because stuff's already going on. People normally tune into my channel more when severe weather's kind of... What's the word I'm looking for? Before the event. Man, that's some interesting rotation in eastern Kansas as I do this. Fort Scott area. Let's see what we've got going on. Do we have any radars a little closer? The Springfield, Missouri one, I guess, is the one that's going to cover this better. I mean, yeah. Got a lot of radars, like, within a circular range, but not, like, as close as I'd prefer. Will this radar do better? Maybe that's, like, the big long-range radar. I mean, I think we could have a little bit of rotation going on there just south of Mapleton there in eastern Kansas at this point. That might be a little bit underrated in those zones right now. Let's look at the reflectivity. Yeah, I mean, I don't see like anything defined well on here, but I mean, it's kind of in a radar hole. We're kind of, this radar's there, that radar's there, that radar's there. You don't have any radar like extremely close on this storm. So if I'm in Fort Scott and then moving into Nevada, Missouri, I'm taking shelter just in case. Just in case something ends up going down. And whenever you're in a severe thunderstorm warning, unless you're someone who's at the window filming, which is not recommended, by the way, you should definitely be taking shelter. Severe storm filmer, though, I know does just the opposite when there's at least a severe thunderstorm. I don't know about a tornado, but severe thunderstorm. All right, up here in southwestern South Dakota in the Rapid City region, just south of town, look at that severe thunderstorm warning. Big hail, gusty wind. Let's take the latest look and see if we can confirm that tornado now, moving out of Wyoming and into parts of Nebraska. Yeah, that's a gnarly hook on that cell, right over the Lyman area right now. Nasty supercell. And I mean, we've still got the fairly decent rotation right there. I mean, it's very on the broader side, but we could certainly have a tornado on the ground. And yeah, just northwest of Lyman, we do have a tornado on the ground. Tornado on the ground. Let's turn this into a little bit more of a coverage stream for now. Let's go back over to this. Plus future timing of severe storms. Okay. We've changed the title for now. But yeah, we've got a tornado on the ground right now, just northwest of the Lyman area there in Nebraska. In eastern Wyoming is where this tornado is probably on the ground right now. Again, you can see Lyman, just to kind of show you, to prove what's going on at this moment. Here's what we've got, okay? You can clearly see on screen, we've got this little area right here. This is our little hook echo on this supercell digging on in there. And then notice if we go on over to the velocity, we've got the fairly tight rotation just northwest of Lyman, Nebraska, just northeast of Huntley, Wyoming, technically in the state of Wyoming right now. Then looking at the correlation coefficient, look at that. You see that right there? That's an abnormality in the atmosphere. That means that we have something that is not rain in the sky, and that's not rain or hail for that matter. So we've got very strong wind from a likely tornado kicking up at least a small area of debris near Road 61, the State Highway 92 area, the Road 56 area here in eastern Wyoming. Yep, they just updated it to observed, severe storm filmer says. And yeah, they should definitely do so on that. Surprised it's still even radar indicated to begin with. If I properly refresh the alerts, it'll probably update the tag on that. See if that did anything. Still says radar indicated on my end, but I believe you that it's observed. I mean, there's no way there's not a tornado going on probably right there right now with the way everything looks. Come on now, let's see if I can get that update. Okay, here's our latest radar scan. Certainly looking a little bit more intense on the storm. And yeah, that rotation, you see the brighter greens filling in now in this area. My computer's apparently struggling as well. Here we go. Bright greens in that area indicating very tight rotation. Starting to pick on up just northwest of Lyman, Nebraska. Just northeast of Huntley there in Wyoming. And yeah, we've got a tornado still on the ground right there. You can see on the correlation coefficient where we've got the greens and blues. That's debris, something abnormal in the air. So if you live in Henry there, if you happen to live in Henry in western parts of Nebraska, along this Route 26 area, you need to be getting to shelter. Because that's very dangerous. Storm heading in that direction right now. But yeah, it appears we're not going to get many people on the stream this evening, so I'm just going to go ahead and kind of slow things down, wrap things up. I appreciate Severe Storm Filmer and those of you who did join me this evening, but that's going to be it for this one. Glad I could provide a brief update.